Girl, don't be mad, because I got your purse.
Welcome back to another edition of Dave Smith Unleashed, and don't forget to like, to comment, and to subscribe on our YouTube page at The Dave Smith Unleashed Podcast, at The Dave Smith Unleashed Podcast, and of course, also follow us on X/Twitter at Dave Sports God, at Dave Sports God. I'm always posting there when the next show is going to be, what the topic's going to be, who the guest is going to be, what day it's going to be on, so make sure you follow me there, and of course, like, comment, and subscribe on the YouTube page at The Dave Smith Unleashed Podcast. Well, you know, one of those popular segments that I ever did on the Dave Smith Show back in the day, and, you know, I invented the term, man card violations. And it's funny, I sort of patented it because I see it all the time now. About 30 years ago, when I first got started in sports talk radio, I invented the term. I was the first one to ever do it, passing out man card violations. And now I see a lot of people doing it now and not crediting me and stealing my idea, which has happened a lot in my career. Dave Smith Unleashed brought to you by MTS Transportations. And mention the Dave Smith Unleashed podcast and get 20% off on your next shipment for all your shipping, trucking, and freight needs. There's only one business to call, and that's MTS Transportations at 800-640-6873. MTS Transportations, 800-640-6873. But I love giving out the man card violations. Now, it's for unmanly behavior. It's for men doing things that they don't want to do. Maybe they're pressured by their wives or girlfriends, or it's basically men doing unmanly things because they're scared or pressured into it, usually by the wife or the girlfriend. Or maybe it's just a man card violation on their own. And you know, I've only given out one man card violation to a woman in all my years of doing this. It was when I was working at the Great 1540 The Ticket. And we had a girl working in our sales department there. And she comes up to me one day and she says, there's a woman downstairs on the first floor. She works in an insurance company. She has a total crush on you. She is in love with you and she's hot. And I said, oh, really? So then one day I snuck downstairs and I took a peek in the window there and I saw her sitting. Yeah, she was hot. I saw her sitting there. Yeah, okay, thank you. So then I saw the girl in sales again and I said, well, invite her up. Ask her to come up and see the show. But she says, okay, I will. So lo and behold, a couple of days later, there's the hot insurance girl sitting out in the lobby. And I invited her into the studio. So she's sitting there watching me do the show and we're flirting and we're talking. Everything's going well. And then the sales girl walks in and she says, hey, forget about this guy. He's got a girlfriend. And she just kind of went ashen white. She said, oh, okay. And then during a segment, she got up and walked out, never to be seen again. So I gave the sales girl a man card violation for cock blocking. So that was the only one I've ever given to a woman, but maybe in the future I'll be giving some more. And I've only given out 2 permanent revocations. It was to Kobe Bryant with a disgraceful scene after he got caught cheating. Remember, he held the press conference and he had his wife Vanessa up on stage with him, and he was holding her hand. See, this is yes, you cry, yes, you beg, yes, you ask for forgiveness, but you do that privately in the house. He did it in front of the world. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Oh my God, I gave him a revocation for that. And then, of course, Doug Christie got the revocation. And we all know the story with Doug Christie and his wife. So Doug Christie and Kobe are the only 2 who got permanent revocations. But let's now get to an all-new set of man card violations here on Dave Smith Unleashed.
Dave Smith is always watching and has spies everywhere. So if you're involved in unmanly behavior, a man card violation will be issued. And in extreme cases, a man card revocation.
Because every time you drop the ball, man-wise, I'm going to take one from you.
It's time for man card violations.
I'm going to start with CJ Stroud. Some of you probably saw this. The outstanding quarterback for the Houston Texans, who are hosting the they're playing the Buffalo Bills are playing Jacksonville. Houston, they're going to Pittsburgh, and I think they're going to win that game. By the way, the Houston Texans. CJ Stroud, I believe he was Rookie of the Year last year. He had a tremendous rookie year out of Ohio State. Seems like a good enough guy. Always praises Jesus and thanks the Lord after the game. Humble, religious. Seems like a family type guy. So it surprised the hell out of me. I turned on the television set, and here's CJ Stroud last week walking into the stadium, getting ready for the game. And I said, is that CJ Stroud or is that Mrs. CJ Stroud? When I saw him, he was, if you could see, you could probably Google it and see the picture. He was wearing hot pants. If you remember, back in the 70s and 80s, a lot of girls wore hot pants and they were really sexy. I mean, he was wearing the short, tight shorts with a red shirt, and it brings tears to my eyes when I have to say this. He was carrying a purse. So he was wearing hot pants and carrying a purse. And then I said to myself, for God's sake, where are the go-go boots? Why don't you go all the way? For God's sake. Hot pants, a purse. Come on, CJ Stroud. Man card violation for you.
You've lost your man card.
All right, I think we all know who Amy Shumer is, right? The obese comedian. At least she used to be.
I know I lost weight, but that doesn't mean I like Trump now. Okay.
Now, I remember before she was fat. She used to be on Red Eye all the time, a show I used to love with Greg Gutfeld back in the day, and on Fox News. And I used to love that. So it was a comedy show. It kind of like the show Gutfeld does now, like a panel comedy show. She used to be a regular guest, and back then she was kind of cute. She was a lot thinner, and I guess she was a beginning stand-up comic. But boy, over the years, did she pork it on. She looks like she was about 250 at her best about a year and a half ago. And boy, she became an angry Karen. An angry white liberal woman. I'm surprised she didn't dye her hair purple and get a nose ring. Who knows? Oh, and she had Trump derangement syndrome and screaming about politics all the time and always angry, always pissed off, and looked like the typical young liberal woman. Purple-haired, nose ring wearing fatty. Now, I don't know if she ever had purple hair on the nose ring, but she was definitely an angry fatty. Well, I saw a picture of Amy Shumer the other day. Boy, she has lost a ton of weight. She looks good. And she posted a bikini picture online and said, hey, look at this. And people were, some were praising her and saying, wow, that's good. Congratulations on the weight loss. You look great. But, of course, the blue-haired fatties, they're all upset with her now. Furious that she lost the weight. Furious that she looks good. And accusing her, what do you now, MAHA? Make America healthy again? What do you now? Support Robert F. Kennedy Jr.? You're going to be a Trump supporter? They're accusing her of this just because she lost weight. There's a woman named Zoe Williams in the Guardian newspaper. And this tops them all for the stupidest things I read about this. She said, getting fit turns you into a right-wing jerk. And there's other people who said getting fit is racist. Getting fit. It's a symbol of white supremacy. I guess it's a white thing, being fit. It's absolutely ridiculous. So for all of you out there who are ripping Amy Shumer for doing the right thing, for losing a bunch of weight, for looking great, by the way, look at her bikini shots on social media, and criticizing her for it, criticizing her for losing weight and getting in shape, for all the blue-haired fatties out there, and equating getting fit with racism and saying getting fit turns you into a right-wing jerk, there's a man card violation.
You've lost your man card.
Now, I like the Buffalo Bills. I love those teams, with Jim Kelly and Thurman Thomas and James Lofton and, all those the teams that went to the 4 Super Bowls in a row and unfortunately lost all 4. Now, I've always been a 49ers fan, but I like those Bills team, and I was pulling for them to win at least one. And I was at that Super Bowl, the second one. The first one they lost to the Giants in a game that they should have won. I mean, they had a much better team than the Giants. That's the one out of the 4 they lost they should have won. Then the next year, I think it was like 52-14 or so. They got their ass handed to them by the Cowboys, Jimmy Johnson's Cowboys, and I was at that game at the Rose Bowl. So anyway, an era came to an end here. Highmark Stadium hosted their last game in Buffalo. Remember, it used to be Rich Stadium, then it was Highmark, and they're building a new stadium, I think, in the parking lot right across the street. So it was the last game. And they did a tribute video. And during the tribute video, the entire stadium got up and sang, of all songs. What, YMCA by the Village People wasn't available? Which I Will Survive by Gloria Gaynor? I Am Woman by Helen Reddy? What, they weren't available? They all sang that horrible song, Iris, by the Goo Goo Dolls. You know, when the Nazis were causing all that trouble and starting World War II, you know what Hitler called the Scottish troops? He called them the ladies from hell, and it was a sign of respect because they wore kilts and they were such great, fearless warriors. They were almost impossible to beat on the battlefield. Yeah, they wore kilts, but they were great warriors and great fighters, and they were called ladies from hell. I think Mussolini called them that as well. And I guess you could say this is this is a tough guy contest. I don't know. But hundreds of people gathered in a Glasgow park, you know, Glasgow, the capital of Scotland, to watch this event. And in the background, a flautist, I always say flutist, but I guess the popular term is flautist, played during the event. Now, is a flute kind of a girly instrument? No. My daughter plays the flute. I always loved the flute, and I am a gigantic, huge fan of Ian Anderson and Jethro Tull. So I love the flute. I'm not going to criticize anybody for liking the flute. It's a beautiful instrument, especially the way Ian Anderson plays it like nobody else did before. Now, why were they all gathered in Scotland? What was the event? Well, it was called the Kick in the Balls contest, where a guy would line up and a guy stood there with his hands at his sides, and people walked up and took turns kicking him in the balls. And I said to myself, wow, number one, who would volunteer for that? Number two, who would actually show up for that? And who would come up with this kind of an event? Hey, I got a good idea. Let's line a guy up. Let's have him hold his hands at his sides, and then like 5 or 6 guys get in line and wind up and kick him in the balls, like soccer style.
Kick me in the balls.
And he got up screaming in pain, and then the next guy kicked him in the balls. And then he got up screaming in pain, and then the next guy kicked him in the balls. Like, who would volunteer for this, by the way? So, man card violation for the country of Scotland for coming up with the kick in the balls contest, and the hundreds and thousands of people in the park gathered to watch and the flutist.
You've lost your man card.
Why would you have a flute playing in the background when a guy's getting his balls kicked in? That's another question I have. I still can't get over the kick in the balls contest. Wow. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll talk to you next time on Dave Smith Unleashed.